Hello, and welcome to episode 15 of the Wellness Connection podcast with Fiona Kane. My name is Fiona Kane, and today my topic is It Ain't What You Do, but the Way That You Do It, which I think was a song in the 80s when I was in high school. Not a bad song. But it's an interesting topic because I see sometimes one of the reasons we don't get the results we want, particularly in health, which is my focus, is the way that we go about it. And sometimes it's not even what you do, but it's the attitude that you take with you when you do it. So I'll give you, some a bit of a background of this. So what I see over and over is I work with people on their health goals, and often there's weight goals in there as well, but not always. But essentially, with people on their goals to better health. And what I see, what I do is if anyone works with me any kind of long term, if they're doing a program or something like that, what I would normally do is right at the very beginning, I actually get them to sign a pledge to themselves. And that's actually a pledge of compassion. It's a pledge that they're going to approach themselves with kindness and compassion, and that the way that we get to good health long term is through learning how to nurture and nourish ourselves to health. Yes, short term, you can get results by bullying yourself and doing all the things that aren't good for you, but that's only ever short term results. It's not long term results. You get where you want to go, but you still hate on yourself. You still hate yourself. You don't look after yourself. You don't like yourself, and often go back to where you were before. So short term, yes, you can hate on yourself and get results, but long term, it's not. It doesn't work long term. And also, for those of us who've had weight issues where you've lost weight and you've put it back on and you've lost and put it back on, the more times we do that, the older we get, the more our hormones change, the more you just can't get away with like what we used to do, what worked before, just not going to work for us now. So, when we approach nutrition and health and exercise and all of those things, so for example, I see it with nutrition that when people perceive a way of eating, they kind of want to do a strict diet, or they call it a strict diet. They talk about what they can't have. They talk about it in a really kind of restrictive way. And the way I look at food is I look at food as something that nurtures and nourishes you. And if you do have to go on whatever kind of diet that you need to go on, and sometimes people, they might be gluten sensitive, or for various reasons we're having less calories or less carbs, or not having gluten or dairy or whatever it is for the individual. The way I look at it as I'm approaching this in a way of nourishing myself and nurturing myself. I don't look at it in a way of that I am missing out or I'm depriving myself. And I've done another episode where I've talked more about this, but just our language around food, that when we talk about it from a point of view is like I'm missing out, I'm depriving myself, or when we're talking to others and we say, oh, I'm not allowed to have this, I'm not allowed to have that. You're a grown up. You can eat what you like. This is all about choice. And when we approach it from a point of view is that I'm eating in a way that nourishes me, or I'm doing an exploration, a food exploration, and learning about what nourishes me and what works for me. That is very different to going on a restrictive diet and missing out and sitting there and just eating a carrot stick that you're not enjoying. If you enjoy carrot, fine, and I don't mind a carrot stick, but sitting there eating things that you feel like are bland, or things that you don't enjoy, and almost we approach it, or what people can do is approach their eating to almost a way of punishing themselves. So they're eating to punish themselves. And there's a lot of beautiful, great and very tasty food in healthy foods. It's not you don't have to have a restrictive diet where you don't enjoy anything. Certainly not in any long term capacity for the majority of people. So it really is about looking at food as something that nourishes and nurtures you, as opposed to something that you have to punish yourself with, or punish yourself without. That's the other side of things. So people believe if they starve themselves for long enough throughout the day, that they will lose weight, and then what it ultimately does is it makes you crave food a whole lot more later in the day, and kind of you're more likely to binge and get stuck into food later in the day. I have no problem with intermittent fasting. It has its place. It's not for everybody. It certainly has its place. But again, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So intermittent fasting can be a very useful tool. Starving yourself to punish yourself, or thinking that the more you ignore your body, the healthier you will be. No, that doesn't work. So again, it's not what you do, it's what the approach to why you're doing it, how you're doing it, and the mindset you have to doing it. And if your mindset is punishing yourself, or starving yourself, then that does not work. So what we do know is we I know I've seen it over and over and over again, is hating yourself to health. You can't hate yourself to health, and you can't craft your body or your body shape through bullying yourself. That is not how you craft a healthy body, or do the shape shifting if we need to do shape shifting and change the shape of our body. Bullying is not the way to do that. And one of the reasons why, besides the fact that it's just really mean and it's not kind, and we don't really treat other people like that. So, why do we treat ourselves like that? But the other reason is, it's kind of very scientific reason that when we get bullied, or whether it's we're bullying ourselves or somebody else, but when we're being bullied, we go into kind of a stress mode. Our body feels very unsafe. And for most of us, the more unsafe we feel, the more likelihood that we actually are going to hold on to fat. We're going to make lots of stress hormones, and it's going to mean that we make more, like we release more glucose into the bloodstream, and so we're releasing glucose in the bloodstream, which might cause sort of dysregulation for our glucose metabolism. So for anyone, if their shape shifting involves losing weight, then that can be a real challenge, because what you're doing is you're messing up your blood glucose metabolism, and you're going to probably be holding on to fat rather than letting go of it. So any situation that makes your body feel unsafe, often you'll have the opposite effect to what you want. Your body will feel unsafe, so it's going to hold on more. So it's going to feel unsafe if you're bullying yourself. It's going to feel unsafe if you're hating on yourself, if you're just calling yourself names, or kind of just being generally kind of unkind to yourself. So that's where compassion comes in. And sometimes people get confused with what compassion means. But compassion does not mean just giving in to every whim and every want. If you think of the way that you would be compassionate towards somebody else, whether it's your child or whether it's your parent or friend, if they're having a health challenge, you're being compassionate to them. You wouldn't give them a whole packet of Tim Tams to improve their health, right? That's not compassion. You might give them one if that's suitable for them, or you might not. But compassion would be caring. Compassion would be helping them choose or make healthy food. Compassion might be helping them go out for a walk, or taking them to a medical appointment. But compassion is not saying, well, you should just lay on the lounge and eat Tim Tams, and that's going to solve all of your problems. That's not compassion. So when we have compassion, we actually still want the greater good for that person. So when we have compassion for ourselves, it is the same thing, that we have compassion for ourselves. And what it means is actually we want the greater good for this person. So when you want the greater good for that person, and you have that type of compassion, that is a compassion that is kind and nurturing, yet there's boundaries around it. And it's not a pushover. It's someone who's there to guide you and support you, and be kind, but to keep some guardrails in and support you to get where you want to go. So it is important to start and maintain health journeys with a certain level of compassion for yourself. But compassion isn't just never ending sympathy, and compassion isn't encouraging you to stay in a victim mode forever. Compassion is just, some kindness and love and kindness and support, but with some guardrails and with the greater good in mind for you, for your future. So we sometimes, yeah, we get confused with what it means, but that's what it means. And the other thing that happens in regards to food is that if we've had a long-term poor relationship with food or with our bodies or the combination of the two, is that we can start having we go into that kind of fight or flight stress mode. Even just when we sit down to eat, we just start to perceive food as the enemy. So any time that we're going into that fight or flight mode and we perceive there's a threat, so sometimes we think we're the threat because we're the wrong shape, or we're not good enough, or we're not enough, or whatever language we have around what we think about ourselves. Sometimes we go into that fight or flight mode because we've now see the food as a threat, and so the food is a threat. And we sit down and we think, oh, everything I eat is going to make me sick, or it's going to make me fat, or whatever the language is that we're using, whatever it is that you use that you're saying to yourself, that makes the food a threat. So that again puts your body into that fight or flight mode, pushing all the glucose into your system, holding on to fat. So essentially, our body needs to be relaxed and calm, and it needs to feel safe for us to have a healing journey, whether that journey is a shape shifting journey in regards to weight, or it's about health and other health things, and it's got nothing to do with weight. But either way, we really, really do need to. Our body needs to feel safe to do some healing and do for you to get the nourishment that you need and for you to get the healing you need. There needs to be a level of safety involved, and anything that undermines that safety is going to undermine your efforts to improve your health. I also see it in regards to exercise, where people will be absolutely caning themselves with exercise. And I'm a big fan, as I am a big fan of nutrition. I'm also a big fan of exercise and movement. But again, it needs to be the appropriate. What's appropriate for you, what's going to work well for you. But people, what I see is people punishing themselves with exercise. And exercise is actually a celebration of what your body can do. It's not a punishment for what you ate, right? I'm going to say that again. Exercise is a celebration of what your body can do, not a punishment for what you ate. And when we see it as a punishment, when we see it as, well, I've had so many calories, so I could do so much exercise. I'm not saying there's not some science involved and all that kind of stuff. But when we simply see it as, I've got to punish myself for all the calories I had, again, your body's going to perceive the exercise as a threat. It's going to receive, you want to perceive the food's a threat, the exercise is a threat, the body's, everything is a threat to your body. So you're going to be in stress mode a lot of the time. And when you're in this mode, you're more likely to get injuries. If you're in that stress mode, you're more likely to hurt yourself when you're exercising. But also, you are more likely to hurt yourself because you're more likely to push and do things that are really not appropriate for you, because you've got a back injury or you've got a knee injury or whatever's going on for you. Just push yourself too fast too soon, or injure yourself in some way because you're not looking after yourself. So just be really, really aware that that when we approach exercise, it is a celebration, but it is also about what's appropriate for you at that time. And I know whenever I need this kind of advice, I work with a trainer, or you could work with an exercise physiologist, or whoever it is, but you work with someone who understands what you need and can help you in a sensible way get into the right exercise for you and give you the right challenges. Because yes, we do need to be challenged, but sometimes we don't understand the right kind of challenges that we need. If we injure ourselves if you're starving yourself and not eating good nutrition, and then you're stressing yourself with exercise, you injure yourself, it's going to take you a lot longer to recover from that injury as well, because you don't have the nutrition and your body's in stress mode, right? So it's not about not challenging yourself with exercise, it's just challenging yourself appropriately with exercise, making sure that you're doing the exercise that is right for you and that you're challenging yourself in the right way. So, and again, with nutrition, it's like I said, when we see nutrition as a threat, or when we see food as a threat somehow, or we kind of put food, it's I'm being good or bad, or all of the different things that we use, the language we use around food to somehow make it the enemy. When we make ourselves the enemy, when we make food the enemy, we make exercise, and that's what it is when we approach it in that sort of stressful way, where the food's harming me, the exercise I need to do to make up for the food, and that my body's not okay, hating on ourselves, all of that puts your body into the mode of being unsafe. If your body's unsafe, not going to shape shift, not going to achieve your health goals. So it's just really, really important to understand that we don't hate ourselves to health, we don't bully ourselves to health, we love ourselves to health. And if we can't do that, we at least have a level of respect for ourselves. So sometimes people they can't quite go to the feeling like they can love themselves, but maybe just a healthy respect is a good place to start. So, if you think about it, the relationship you have with you and your body, your relationship is the longest relationship you'll have in your life. And I would argue the most important relationship, or one of the most important relationships you're going to have in your life. It's you and your body for your whole life. So, you can either hate on it and reject it and be mean and bully and all of the things, or you can actually develop a healthy relationship with it. And that might just start by paying attention to it, by listening to signs and symptoms, because our body does talk to us. Often, though, when we're in this mode of having to punish and to deprive and punish and all of that, we just don't even check in, because if we're present in our bodies, we can't do it. So we actually just depart. We're just emotionally detached from our bodies. So we don't know that we're overdoing it. We don't know that we're causing ourselves an injury until we've really, really done it. And we don't know that we're depriving ourselves and becoming nutrient deficient and nutrient deplete and having health problems because of what we're doing, because we're just not present. So, a really, really big starting point that I'm sure I have talked about before on this podcast is to be well, we need to be present. So we need to be present with our body, and we need to at least make friends with it. And at least if you're friends and you're friendly and you have a certain level of respect for you and your body, that is a really, really healthy place to start your health journey, or to continue your health journey from, is a place where you have that respect. And if you have that respect, you will be kind, because people that you like and you respect, you are kind to them and you are compassionate to them. So just think of the way that you treat people that you have respect for, and think of what a difference it would make if you treated yourself that way. And if we do treat ourselves that way, then, like I said before, our body is not going into that stress mode all of the time. Because if all of the things I've talked about up until now, all of the things we do when we go on diets and we deprive ourselves and and cane ourselves in the gym, nothing wrong with the gym, but I'm just talking about overdoing it. When we do all those things, our body perceives threat. And if our body feels threatened, everything, blood sugar goes off, hold on to fat, and a whole bunch of healing things aren't happening. So, a really, really big part of healing, and that includes for those people who there's some shape shifting and weight changes and things like that, that their goals are part of, is feeling safe. And feeling safe would begin with being present in your body. Get help around that if it's something that you feel like you can't do, see a therapist or someone. And noticing the signs and symptoms of the body, noticing what your body's saying. Our body does talk to us, like I said, it has some really important messages for us, and letting yourself know that you're safe. And even if you feel that you can't feel like you don't feel like you love yourself at this point of time, or you feel like that's too hard, can you at least have a friendship or a respect for your body? Because if you begin your health journey with a healthy respect for you, you'll have compassion, but you'll also have boundaries, and there'll be guardrails there. You will start yourself from a place of nourishing yourself to health rather than punishing yourself to health. And really, that is the key. The key is nourishing yourself. So, like I said, it ain't what you do, but the way that you do it. So, there's all sorts of different diets that people can use. And, like I said, it might be intermittent fasting, or it might be low fat or low calorie or low carb, or all different types of things, tools that you might use. Another tool you might use is exercise. There's all different tools that we use to help with our health and to help shape shift. If we approach those tools as a way to nurture and nourish ourselves to health, and obviously just get the right advice around whether or not that is the right tool for us, because not all of those tools that are in the toolbox are appropriate for your body, and your history and your situation. But if we're using the appropriate tools for us, and if we're using them with the intention of nurturing and nourishing ourselves to health, our body will understand that it's safe to do the changes that it needs to do. And you'll have a lot better chance at healing and achieving your health goals. So it really, really is important to look at your approach. And I see this with a lot of clients, a lot of people who've done a lot of diets, and they can be very, very hard line. And it's interesting that we can do it over and over again and keep ending up back in the same situation. But we don't see that, like the definition of insanity is doing it. I think Albert Einstein was accredited with this. I don't know if he really did say it, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And that's what I see a lot with health and a lot of dieting, is that people will do the same thing over and over again. And when you sort of say, well, maybe we do something a bit different, maybe we can be kind. It's, oh, no, no, but this works. I, got it all sorted. And if I'm mean to myself enough, I can make this happen. I can just whip this into shape. I can make it happen. Well, yeah, maybe you can. Does it last long term though? And my question to you would be, why are you back in the same situation again? And I don't mean that as a judgment, because I've been back in that same situation several times in my life. I don't have perfection over any of this. I'm not perfect, and I've had and do have weight issues. So this is not a judgment at all, but it's just a question. It's just starting a conversation with yourself. These are the same conversations I have with myself. This is not something I just see as like a scientific kind of factual interesting topic. These are things that I experience within my own body and within my own self, and that I support clients with all of the time. So this is just a general observation. Well, it's a mixture of some of things I've learned in the various courses I've done, and things obviously in my experience, but also an observation of essentially the kind of questions that we can ask ourselves to get better results. So my question to you would be, why are you still doing the same thing if it's not working for you, or if it's not working for you anymore? And maybe it's time to consider something different, to consider something new. And maybe that can start with nurturing yourself to health. There's an idea: healthy respect for your body and ensuring that your body feels safe so it can heal. So I'll leave it at that. I hope that was useful for you. And as always, you can book a consultation with me online if you need support around this at informedhealth.com.au. I hope you have a great week. I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.